The first Dune book, and what the recent two films adapted for the big screen, is a very complex story, but the universe that it's set in is actually quite simple. Dune is a pure sci-fi fiction, meaning Frank Herbert's source material is set in our real world, just 20,000 years in the future. A crazy concept that he managed to execute perfectly. Almost every corner of his universe has a deep fear and hatred for computers, thinking machines made in the image of a human mind, or artificial intelligence. We've heard, read, and seen this concept a million times in other stories, but what makes Dune a special piece of pop culture is it was published in 1965, and the fact that the conflict with AI and all their past atrocities happened more than 10,000 years back in this fake world's timeline. This is a futuristic world with no robots flying around, with jet fuel solving all of humanity's problems. Humans had to adapt in order to advance to the millennia and other means. No civilization can truly evolve without trade. Inhabitable planets that humans made their home don't have a lot of supernatural traits. All about the planet Arrakis, that has a very unique cycle between the powerful sandworms and the spice that they produce in their desert wasteland. Spice is the most valuable substance in the universe, for a couple reasons, but the big one is it allows space travel to exist between solar systems and galaxies. Without computers, no spacecraft should be able to navigate deep space at these unreal speeds. They go faster than the speed of light. It just wouldn't be feasible without humans evolving. Some people who consumed some of the spice produced on the planet Arrakis would gain almost psychic-like powers. Nothing crazy at first. Few had a unique genetic predisposition that allowed them to get a small glimpse into the future. The books like to commonly call prescience, with generations of select breeding and experiments on humans. An organization called the Spacing Guild got it down to a science, turning some men into mutants. While others may consume the spice, those selected to be a navigator for the guild live in a tank filled with a gas form of the spice for the rest of their lives. It's not really clear if it's the massive amount of the drug consumed that modifies their body as well as their mind, but they're described as initially human who become fish-like humans in tanks. Their features become elongated with finned hands and feet. With enough exposure to the spice, your eyes will slowly turn blue. Navigators' eyes are such a deep hue that they're almost all black. Glimpsing into the future allows them to avoid disastrous routes while traveling faster than the speed of light. The navigators are powerful, yes, but it's the guild as a whole that damn near control the universe with their monopoly. No single being before the Duke Leto Atreides really shook up the universe. His personal traits even had the Emperor of his time sweating. Yes, this topic centers around the Duke's era and their children, of course. People from the past aren't all that notable in terms of power, plus the lore isn't all that fleshed out by the author, Frank Herbert, as much as Frank's son and other writers try to expand on things. Anything past these two generations gets too crazy and spoilery for people who clicked for a Dune discussion based on the two films released so far. But things do get wacky, and I'll leave it at that. The Emperor essentially rules over the known universe, with the Carino family's majority holding of an organization called CHOAM. The Space Guild controlled space travel, while CHOAM controls interplanetary trade, including the spice found on Arrakis. All the royal families have shares, and even the creepy, mysterious Bene Gesserit, the Emperor's family just holds the most. What separates the Duke Leto Atreides from the rest of the royal families was how he inspired love and loyalty. He was truly magnetic. Paul's father was extraordinary as far as simple humans go in this world. By his side, deeply loyal to him are the Swordmaster Duncan Idaho, a War Master Gurney Halleck, and the human computer, a Mentat named Thufir Hawat. For over 100 years, Thufir, as the family's master of assassins, handled security detail for House Atreides, keeping them all safe. Yeah, folks can live a little longer 20,000 years in the future. All three, like their leader the Duke, were exceptional, universe class at what they do. Gurney is arguably the most skilled fighter of his time. Men these powerful serve a Duke and not the Emperor. Leto Atreides did the impossible when he won over the woman who has trained her whole life to manipulate him. The Emperor and anyone of note is sent over one of the trained Bene Gesserit. They know they will be manipulated to be part of their grand scheme to create a god, but no one can resist their powers and turn away their useful abilities. This organization of women are very powerful. Thousands of years of careful planning and genetically manipulating whoever they wanted. They're called witches for a reason. This sisterhood trains females from birth to have complete control over their bodies. Every single muscle, every nerve, bodily functions, and chemistry. This lets them survive harsh conditions, give immunity to a harmful substance like poison, and control their fertility down to the gender they need to create, and that's just a start. These women have developed combat skills that match the Emperor's own personal soldiers, who are supposed to be the universe's finest, called Imperial Sardaukor, but they ain't all that. I wouldn't even put them on the list of powerful entities. The Bene Gesserit are also trained to influence others with a power called the Voice.
Come here, kneel.
One of the witches simply has to target her voice at someone in a specific tone to make them do whatever they want. Damn near mind control. They are masters at seduction, even with the use of the Voice. When the Sisterhood targets a man for their breeding program to create a super being one day, they use a renowned sexual technique that gives their victim an unobtainable level of pleasure. They got the Emperor in their grips as one of their puppets, and the powerful Baron Harkonnen, also infiltrating different cultures to spread their beliefs. Even the wildly rebellious Fremen on Arrakis. The Sisterhood's grand scheme was to birth a special human they referred to as the Kwisatz Haderach, an evolved human that can see through time and space, a far more powerful version of a female Reverend Mother. Reverend Mothers are the higher level members of the Sisterhood who have access to all their female ancestors' memories and skills. They even have access to the memories of other Reverend Mothers. A male who would pass their trials would become able to access both male and female ancestor memories. Their powerful breeding program was close to complete by the beginning of Dune. Paul wasn't meant to be the Kwisatz Haderach. This powerful being was supposed to be indoctrinated by the Bene Gesserit. Jessica rebelled out of her love for the Duke Leto. She wasn't even permitted to marry him, just meant to be a paramour. Jessica's assignment was to seduce little Atreides, use her powers to produce a daughter with their DNA. This hypothetical daughter was supposed to marry the Harkonnen heir. The Bene Gesserit believed this genetic combo would offer up the best chance at a Kwisatz Haderach. Instead of making a daughter, she decided to have a son with the Duke, to give him an heir after they fell in love. And Leto decided to not marry another woman worthy of his status. He loved her back. Jessica trained Paul herself in the Sisterhood's ways. Leto had his trusty Swordmaster, Warmaster, and Master of Assassins train Paul in their respected fields. Even before ever ingesting any spice or going through the trial that elevates one of the Bene Gesserit into a Reverend Mother, Paul was a powerful teenager. But the Bene Gesserit didn't want House Atreides wiped out for these actions that set them back indefinitely. Things could have still been salvaged. The Emperor's jealousy of the magnetic Duke Leto and the Harkonnens' evil, greedy ways did Leto in. There was a rivalry between the House Atreides and Harkonnen, with one being portrayed as the good guys and the other pure evil. Jessica didn't plan on having her son go through the transformation during their travels through the deadly deserts of Arrakis. Paul actually volunteers in becoming the Kwisatz Haderach. Jessica also goes through this trial to become a Reverend Mother with all the past memories. But she secretly committed an extremely taboo act during it. She drank the fluid from a sandworm, stopped the poison from killing her, like how the trial's supposed to go, but didn't inform anyone she was pregnant with a little girl. It's taboo because if the fetus survives, they will also be instantly a Reverend Mother. Imagine being born with all your ancestors' memories and skills. These babies are called abominations by the Sisterhood, and things can quickly turn very ugly because they're not equipped to handle all those minds in their head. It leads to possession from one of the voices in their head. So this little fetus is quite powerful already, but not a single character in the universe comes close to what Paul is capable of by the end of the second film. He's the strongest being ever so far, made stronger with his time with the Fremen. They become his personal army, and Fremen are on another level of skill compared to the rest of the universe, far stronger than the Sardaukor, and they ride giant sandworm monsters. They have one weakness though. Their life in the desert makes them spice addicts. Withdrawals equals death for an addict. This includes the navigators. The Fremen see Paul as their religious savior. The books and film end on a sad note. The inevitable fanatic jihad, led by the Fremen, all in Paul's name. Paul believes this path leads to the least amount of death in the universe, though his followers will fly into space to kill tens of millions in Paul's name. They will make Paul a target, yes, but being the most powerful being in the universe means he'll see danger coming a mile away. The leader of the Bene Gesserit, an unnamed Mother Superior, doesn't compare, though I would still put her as the second most powerful character. But there are two groups out there in deep space that the films haven't touched upon. The Bene Gesserit are the evil scientists, and they also developed means to turn people into shapeshifters, called face dancers in the story. Like the Bene Gesserit, they have plotted to take over the world. A group of 10 Gesserit masters are characters called the Mashake. I would put them right behind the Mother Superior. And then there's Ix, a planet full of some more nerds. They create all the revolutionary tech in the universe. It's believed they may be committing the universe taboo of creating computers in the likeness of a human mind. Their big plan seems to disrupt the monopolies put in place when it comes to space and trade. They're described as deriving from Asian cultures in our world after all of humanity left Earth. You may hear some mention of them in future films, but don't expect much. Things are pretty mysterious when it comes to the Ixians. I would say they are on the same tier as the Bene Gesserit. I'll end off the list with Jessica herself. She's quite infamous after the stunts she pulled. All the taboo she committed is continued to be taught by the Bene Gesserit as the Jessica crime. Still worshipped by the Fremen for birthing their messiah, but she is now more distant from all the nasty plotting and wars. Saddened by all the violence in the name of her son, she just wants to live life peacefully. Back on the planet where she was with her Duke Leto. So no emperor on this list. He was swiftly usurped by Paul and will live in exile, probably still thinking of Leto, wishing that he was his son and heir. Sorry, Cheney fans and enjoyers of her daddy, Liet Kynes, they ain't making the cut. Like I said earlier, this list explodes with crazy characters later on in the book series. Both films only adapted the first book. By the end of book 6, you don't even know what this story is anymore. Once we have a better idea of where the films are heading, I might make a spoiler-filled version of this topic that goes all the way from book 1 to 6. Not for a while, of course, but I'll see you guys again with something else to talk about soon. Thanks for watching this one.